This is the solution to the exercise on page 11 of the handouts of session 1. It is about the divisibility in primes, and it asks you whether x is divisible by 144. So it basically asks you whether x has as its prime factors at least those that are also present in 144. So let's first prime factorize 144, which we can split up in 2 times 72, and 72 we can split up in 2 times 36, 36 we can split up in 2 times 18, and 18 we can write as 2 times 3 times 3. So 144 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. So the question basically asks you whether x has as its prime factors 4 2's and 2 3's. And there's possibly more prime factors, but the question is whether x has as its prime factors 4 2's and 2 3's at least. Now the first piece of information tells you that x is divisible by 8. So we know that x has prime factors of 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. So the fact that x has 3 2's as prime factors doesn't mean that x has also another 2 and 2 3's as prime factors. So the first piece of information is not sufficient to answer the question. The second piece of information tells you that x is divisible by 18. So x has as prime factors 2 times 3 times 3, which is 18. But the fact that x has 1 2 and 2 3's as prime factors doesn't tell you anything whether x also has another 3 2's as its prime factors. So also the second piece of information is not sufficient to answer your question. Now let's combine both pieces of information. This first piece of information tells you that x has 3 2's as its prime factor. So x can be written at least as 2 times 2 times 2. The second piece of information tells you that x has 1 2 as its prime factor, but we already know that there's 3 2's in x, so that is redundant information. And it tells you that x has 2 3's as its prime factor. So we know that x has 3 2's and 2 3's as its prime factor, but that still doesn't tell you whether x has 4 2's as its prime factor, because we only know that there's 3 2's as prime factors. So therefore combining both pieces of information also is not informative of this question. So your final answer will be E. Even if you combine both pieces of information, you cannot answer this question. So the pitfall here is that you see 3 2's here and 1 2 here, and then you may think, okay, let's put all 4 2's in here. But the fact that your first piece of information tells you that there's 3 2's in x, and the second tells you that there's 1 2 in x, only means that there's 3 2's in x, because the second piece of information is not informative. A parallel might be that you consider a ball in which there are red balls, and then one person tells you there are at least 3 red balls in the ball, and the other person tells you that there is at least 1 red ball in the ball. So combining this information doesn't mean that there is 4 red balls in the ball, because the restrictive information is that there are 3 red balls in the ball. So that's the parallel here. You do not have enough information to answer your question, So your answer is going to be E.